agenda for tonight's session. Have you all had a chance to review that?
Ed, I have two things I'd like to add to the agenda.
Okay, they will be.
One, which may already be covered, but I wanted to go back to minutes versus transcript.
Okay.
And that may already be what you're intending with
Probably it's new business discussion regarding minutes formatting. I didn't place that on there, so
that it may have come in from what I said. I wanted to make sure. And we also tabled and moved the discussion of the overlay district. I wanted to put on the agenda the possibility of doing that in-house and maybe setting up a working group.
That can be discussed under if that's.
And so I wanted to make sure it was out there so that.
Okay.
So if you wanted to add that as a bullet.
Yeah, I'll just make a note of that under item 2 of old business discussion regarding the overlay district, because that was tabled at our last meeting.
Right.
To be brought up again, so you can certainly, I think, cover your ideas at that point. I'll let you forget it. We'll do it
I
then.
won't.
Anybody else?
I just want to ask, I mean, so usually we have staff.
Let's go ahead and get the agenda done, then I'm gonna ask Ron to, because Ron is our liaison and he's here, they are not, so address that. Unless you want to put that on the agenda.
Yeah, I do. I mean,
Okay.
it's part of us.
All right, well, then it's under. You want to know that people get too far along, so I'll go ahead and insert it after the public comments.
Okay.
Discussion of attendance of town manager and town clerk. Is that what you had?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we always do.
Great question by Hollywood. All right. Yes.
Yes, under F, the approval of the minutes from 3/27. It doesn't say who approved it and who denied it.
Okay, we're gonna get to the discussion in here, and that's whatever we find, we'll address those things.
Okay.
When we review the minutes. I think what that's saying, if you're looking at bullet A, motion to approve or deny is just typically what's expected to happen. So it will either be approved or denied, or it just doesn't pass, which is what happened recently at one of the meetings. That's just verbiage. If that's the question.
Well, it's F. It's F, approval of the minutes from 3/27.
If you look at the previous record of the agendas, it's the same way as the approval for the previous month's minutes.
Oh,
That's just a thing. No, I've got it, you have a couple.
okay.
The 7th was the last week.
Uh-huh.
But again, they'll be brought up and you have the opportunities to review and make any comments on that. Then. Right? Yeah.
I do not.
Okay, then I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as revised.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Snyder to approve agenda as revised. Your second? Second, Ms. Newton. No need to discuss that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously 5-0. Okay, so now we come to the part where we ask, we have public an opportunity to speak, and we call public comment. We limit the comments to 3 minutes typically, and I don't have the list of anyone signed up, but I'm looking at 2 people. Would either of you like to speak?
No.
Would you like to tell us your name?
Yes, it's Sandra Puckett.
Oh, I know where.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you know.
I hear you looking. Look at that, Weeza Avenue or
Virginia Avenue.
Virginia, next one over. and Dave instead.
No, I'm good. Unless you want me to say something. I'm
The opportunity is here, so I can keep you all said, but I'm glad to have each of you present. Moving along, then, the next item of the agenda for tonight is the approval of the minutes. And I'm going to give Teresa.
You were going to, excuse me, you were going
Oh,
to,
I skipped the phone I had, thank you, keeping straight. Discussion of attendance of town manager and town clerk. Would you like to address that?
I would. So first, I want to thank you all for coming out again. I know Thursday nights are hard, but I want to thank you all for your dedication to the town of Mineral and to the planning commission. There is no secret to the fact that there's been some turmoil. And so as the liaison and as the mayor, I have asked the staff not to attend tonight. So I am your support staff for this evening, recording, taking notes. I'll work with Stephanie to generate the minutes until such time as we have put some decorum back in our meetings. The staff will not be required to attend. Now, at the necessity of the zoning administrator, she will come. That's at the necessity. That's as a guest speaker to the planning commission, not as a member at the table. The outline for a planning commission is to be completely uninfluenced from the town council and the town staff. Your independent opinions are what we're looking for. So having two of our staff, which answer to council, sitting at the table every night isn't really giving an independent opinion. It's you're hearing from them what their opinions are. So you will not hear my opinions unless you specifically and pointedly ask for them. And again, as necessary, the zoning administrator will be in attendance. But I do want the advice, the suggestions given by the planning commission to the council to remain independent to the planning commission as recommendations to the council. So we won't see staff here at every meeting. I'll be here to support as much as I can. Minutes will still be produced by the staff. So you'll still get that each month. We'll just do it off the video.
So I have a problem with that, honestly. I mean, just to mention, the actual town manager is really important feature for us. And she is the zoning person as well, which is like, it's our voice of knowledge when it comes to things that we do. And so if there's something that we are doing, we need to correct it and respect those people that are in those positions, not remove them. It's not getting fixed what needs to be fixed. And so removing them is taking it's almost like they can't handle themselves in a professional way. And they can. So that's just my opinion on it. If we need to fix something, let's fix it. Not taking part of the team away is gonna fix it. We have to address it, and some respect, needs to be added, but removing them, you're just kind of sweeping it under the rug. I mean, it's not being addressed.
Well, okay, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I need to be clearer in my statement. I want to respond to Mr. Washington. I apologize. I don't want to cut you off. Or Mr. Williams. I called you Mr. Washington. I've known you for years. I'm not removing the staff from the scenario for transgression on their part. I think that there was a lot of back and forth argument and commotion, and they found themselves to be uncomfortable. So they came to me and asked to be removed. So this wasn't something that I just dreamed up because I was dreaming up things. This was at their specific request because they didn't feel comfortable being here. And so again, I've offered my support to the planning commission in this capacity to make sure that the minutes get conducted properly when information needs to be relayed from the zoning administrator. She would be, again, brought in as a guest of the planning commission to come in, speak, and leave.
So that's a problem, that you have staff that's not comfortable with a volunteer board, that is a problem. We are just volunteers. They are staff members. And they're being disrespected by not even being here at the table. That needs to be fixed, because if anybody needs to go, we need to go.
Well, and
Not the staff.
that's a conversation that the planning commission has to have.
I'm sad that they feel that they're feeling like this.
Good comments, Tony. And at the meeting in January, it was said that that meeting got out of hand, and it did get out of hand towards the end of the meeting. We have adopted bylaws, rules of order. No other town planning commission for Mineral has ever had it, and council has adopted theirs since we did. So we have operated in an organized manner. I've been chairman for a year and a half, and I think that we've done great things and worked very effectively. And it did in January, the wheels rolled off the train. But one of the things is, parliamentary procedure is what you're supposed to conduct. It's a small organization here. I have not strictly enforced that to say that people can't just speak back and forth and speak anytime we want or to interrupt anyone. It's been casual. So all I would say is do read the bylaws and rules of order as to speaking, and I will not try to be hardline about it. But if I do call someone down because someone's already speaking, recognize that that's my responsibility as the chairman of the organization. And with that said, I'd like Jim to be able to speak because he tried to a little while ago. And I didn't interject then. I want to make this statement so that we don't get back and forth, and then others want to speak and not having the chance. Jim.
I think, Tony, that what I wanted to express has been expressed. It's, as you said, it's not them, it's us. And it's this meeting. And having to raise my voice at our last meeting to get everybody to stop and then go out and figure out what's going to happen. I don't like doing that, but we need to get better at this. We need to be civil. But as I told the council, I think that we can move on from this, but I think we need to, I'm not sure what I want to say. I want it to be better. I want us to be better. I want us to be effective. I like being able to look to Nicole and ask a question because we never had that back when you and I were and one other person. We were flying blind, and so we need to get back to where it works. Ron, is there a metric, a plan that tells us when they might be comfortable with doing this with us again?
What do you need from us to make them comfortable?
May I interject before they've been wanting to speak about this? There might be a problem on both sides. It's not all of our fault. When we have people in the audience that want to say what they've got to say, everybody has to stop because they're so loud, whether it's council or whether it's a resident here, and they've interrupted every meeting that I've been to so far. They are not part of this commission, and they have to honor their position as council, but they have to honor our positions too. And we can honor their positions, but I don't want just opinions. When the zoning administrator comes in, you better have the ordinances of the town because that's what we need to go by.
And she
Now, let's don't go back and forth unless you ask to speak. And it's not trying to stop you from speaking, but I don't want it to get out of hand with everybody going back and forth at each other.
So
Two have spoken.
I can only judge what I've seen so far. And I've never seen so many opinions come out about certain things in this town when I've been counsel before. Their opinions, we ought to respect their opinion, but there's a fine line that we have got to go by the ordinances of the town. Even if a council member has done something wrong, we have to revert to those ordinances of the town. And Ed is in the position where he sees it's getting out of hand, then he has to do what he has to do to bring everybody down from that high tension that's been going on for so long, whether it's you, me, anybody. We're not here to fight them. They bring the argument and the dissent with them when they speak. That's my opinion since I have been coming to the meetings, and commission hasn't done anything. We have not been able to move forward with anything because they have openly said no to so many things like they did the last time. And it was manipulated when I wanted to go forward with something. So Ed could come back and be able to say, okay, let's move forward with this, this, and this. And it wasn't allowed. So yes, aggravation is there on both ends. It's not all us.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Hold on, I'm gonna, you go on to that, but
So
I'm just,
that's-
and also so you can finish.
that I wanna make sure that you, Mayor, here, I'm an outsider just moving in, and my heart, I dread coming to a meeting. It's not right for council to stand up. Even at the end of the meeting the last time, one of the council members stood up and said, well, you didn't even talk about this, and this, about some kind of property in the street. And I'm thinking, he said the meeting was over, but nobody said anything. But that's the way it's been since I've been here. I know that they're adults and I know that they can do it, we can do it. But we have to respect each other, even if you don't like each other. You have to honor the people that are here. We have to honor the council.
Thank you, Teresa. Brian.
I just have a follow-up question to one of the comments that you were making earlier about manipulations that were done by the staff. Could you be a little bit more specific about that? Because I'm not sure I understand what that is.
Okay, we were talking about moving forward with the, I don't know whether it's called the overlay, when the lady was here, about the history and the historian and doing that. I wanted to move, they said, if you want to move forward, we need to, vote on it. It was up from over there, I don't know which one it was. And so I was moving forward to get that moved into the council, and I was manipulated. And you gotta make sure, what do you want? Do you want this or do you want this? I already knew what I wanted, but there was so much interruption and telling me how I need to do it and shaking heads and all that, and I just sat back then.
Well, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think that was a really important moment that happened at the last meeting. Because what did end up happening, if you do remember what after that, I actually asked a couple of specific questions of Mrs. Washington about what was necessary and what was needed, as well as Mrs. O'Brien or Ms. O'Brien, who was here. And we decided at that time that we were going to find out more information and move forward. And I understand that you wanted to help push that forward to the council, but it was a vote that was made that was the planning commission deciding to have a little bit more information before we presented something to council, which is what I want to do.
I understand that part of it, but we needed to make the motion that night. We gathered the information and then we give it to the council. Because all of the information was given that. So I understood that it did not need to be tabled. Just get that up there to the council so we can get started on it. Cause we can't do anything unless it's been approved by the council.
I would like to address that part as well. We didn't have all the information. That what we were presented was a specific presentation from the TJCDP. Did I use that acronym correctly? Plus. We didn't have all the information because, as Mr. Snyder and I have discussed, earlier this evening, there are other options with creating historic districts that don't require us to pay as much money. And as we know right now, and what I said at the last meeting, we know that budget is a major constraint for us. So what our decision was to slow down a little bit and not necessarily push something through to the council that was not ready. And to be quite frank, council is not ready for some of these motions. And if we don't have our ducks in a row, they most definitely will not have theirs, which is the reason why.
That one. So I agree with that.
Awesome, yeah, most definitely. I think we're all in this.
We get into that discussion. So
So, thank you.
I want to have my chance.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna. So, I just want to make it clear that the mayor spoke to me earlier this week and advised me that the two people, town manager and the town clerk, did not desire to be here or that they were not going to be here. And I asked him to make sure to make it clear that that was not my request. I think that they should be here. I share your view that they should be. And again, what happened at the January meeting and the March meeting, they were two meetings back to back because the February meeting, there was not a quorum, so the planning commission didn't meet. And at the March meeting, I wasn't present because of health issue with my wife. We were in Houston, Texas, been there for 8 weeks. And so I zoomed in, but I ended up catching criticism for how the things were handled at both meetings, one of which I didn't chair and one of which that being March, and I wasn't even here. I would like to say, Mr. Mayor, that what did occur at the meeting in January was in a great deal, the reason in my mind was at that meeting, we didn't have a liaison. Well, the first time that I've ever been involved, the planning commission didn't have a liaison. The liaison is supposed to be a person from council that sits, as you described it, you're going to be doing, and you did it very well once before when you were the liaison to the planning commission. Dave Hempstead did a very good job of it as well after you left being. It's very good to have someone here from council, not to tell us what to do, but to help with communications. If you want to carry something to us or carry something back from us, be useful and assisting us, but not trying to influence us or the directors and things to do. So I'm glad that we have a liaison now. I think it's always important. I don't think what happened in January and March would have ever happened if we had a liaison here to limit what took place from the audience from a council member. That's what happened at the end of the meeting. And it tore this planning commission apart. Planning commission is advisory. It is not, and it's volunteers. None of us get paid a dime. Y'all don't get paid a lot, $100 a month, but we don't get paid. We're here as a volunteer. And I think that we're due respect. And I don't think that we necessarily got respect. And everybody got the brunt of just a meeting that went downhill from the moment that a person in the audience started speaking, did not come to the podium where he could be heard and seen. And I banged my gavel. That's what a chairman does do. That's what the mayor would do, I think. If somebody's going to speak from the audience, they should come to the podium so they can be videotaped, they can be heard, not talking loudly or talking quietly. And as Ms. Newton also pointed out, not being disruptive, in my mind, in the conduct of a meeting. So I invite anybody and everybody to come. If council members want to come, they certainly can come too. But I do not think that council members should in any way be in the audience and then participating in meetings. They should not be influencing or speaking their mind. All we're supposed to do is come up with recommendations that we send to them and they decide. So how do we fairly do that if we got council members attending the meetings and saying they don't like the organization, change the organization, or that they have, if they haven't had things to happen, or they didn't have meetings and they thought it was things discussed at meetings that they thought were going to be discussed. So I'm glad that you asked for it to be put on there. I think that the clerk and the town manager / zoning administrator should be here. And I can tell you from experience in Louisa County and in other places, I know you were in Greene County, sometimes that person will sit out in the audience and only speak when asked for help. That's not uncommon, that often happens. Sometimes they sit right here. Whatever works, works. It's not a detailed thing, but I certainly think they should be here, because if we want information from the town manager or the zoning administrator, having access to them is good. I also want to tell you, for the record, and for everybody that can watch this on videotape, that I think the planning commission always has had the ability to get information from the town attorney when it's appropriate. I know that the previous town attorney came to several of our meetings, and she did that on her own. Not that I requested her to, but I told her, you're always welcome. She had said that she would come from time to time, and anytime you need me, let me know. I don't know if that's the case anymore, because I don't see the person getting on the screen and being here. They don't attend. And at this point, I have some questions of the town attorney that I would like to have addressed. And I've not heard from them, although I've been promised that I will. So I think that this body is a true organization that the state of Virginia requires. You can't operate as a town council and do rezonings and things like that without having a functioning, operating planning commission. And the planning commissioners have come and gone here for the last few years frequently. It's hard to keep them. They don't stay long. I've encouraged many, many people. I've encouraged some of them that are on here now. And a lot of them have left and are no longer with us. These are good people. But if you get jerked around and if you're not respected, how do you expect them to want to stay and to take it? So I'm saying this because I've been censored, or a motion and a second to censure me for my activities at two meetings, one of which I didn't attend and chair. And, I've heard one of the council members say that, that you need to regroup and do something differently. If you want to do that, that's your choice. I will tell you, your bylaws say that you elect a chairman every year, and it's only for 1 year, but you have a term of a year. And planning commissioners cannot be removed, to my knowledge, from being on the planning commission. So it's a thankless job. It shouldn't be something where you have to come in and be harassed or being insulted or being attacked. I've never had that on the Louisa Board of Supervisors, which I've been on. I've never had that as county administrator in Louisa, as county administrator in Orange, or on town council when I was on town council. So I would hope that we can get things back on track. I don't try to be controlling, but if I have to be controlling, I'll do that. But, if it's council people that are doing it, or if staff doesn't feel comfortable being in here, I would share Tony's position that staff has a paid job to perform. And I think that one or both of them should be here. And since they're not here, I'm sorry that they're not here, and I invite them to come back. I think that we would all like to work with them. I'd like to work with them. But if they stay away, I think it is negatively affecting our ability to do work. So have we said enough? If you'd like, I'll give you.
Just a second. I just want to answer the question that you asked.
Okay, you did ask. Yes, and I'm glad you did.
And in my answer to your question, a specific question about what does the planning commission need to do in order to bring the staff back? You just did it. You just did it. You discussed it. You aired your opinions collectively and professionally. Nobody got upset. Nobody stormed out. You just did it. So I'm comfortable as the mayor and the head of the personnel committee that has to overlook the staff and say, yeah, I think you need to come back. Now, I think that the staff needs to come back in a different capacity to speak on what Teresa mentioned, feeling that she was influenced, or I can't remember the word you used, manipulated. So I think that the staff needs to come back in a different capacity. They need to sit down here with me, keep their opinions out of it, answer questions when they are directed at the staff, and that's it. Unless there is a specific presentation from the zoning administrator, that's a different hat. She wears multiple hats on any given day. So if the zoning administrator is presenting to the planning commission, she's presenting one opinion. What the council is looking for from this body is independent opinions. Whatever opinions you all decide on as a group, and I'm trying to elevate that importance and that opinion. When we first started together, I think Jim, I think actually both of you, we were on the planning commission together, and how many conversations did we have where it was like, well, council's not going to listen to us anyway? I mean, that was when I first started as an employee of the town. Feels like many eons ago. That was kind of the conversation. It was like, all right, we brought our dinner with us to the planning commission meetings because the council wasn't listening. That will never happen as long as I sit in that chair. That's the point. So and I apologize for not appointing a liaison to this board. That was an error. That was a newbie error. And I did it because I didn't feel that the commission needed the influence of the town council. It's independent recommendations that we're looking for. We're not looking for something that's been regurgitated from the staff. If I want the staff's opinion, we'll call the staff in and ask their opinion. This is 5 residents, or 7 if we go to that number, 5 residents who have passion for this town, who want to tell the council, this is what you should do. And then council will take that information, take those presentations, take those opinions, and some derivative of that opinion will get enacted based on budget, based on what else is going on in the town. So me telling the staff, okay, don't come tonight, it's not a sleight of hand on how I feel about the planning commission. Mr. Kuby can tell you, I have the utmost respect for people that give their time to this town to help make the town better. I will listen to any one of you outside my role as liaison, but in my role as the mayor, I'll give you any amount of time you want. Let's sit and talk. But we really have to have an independent planning commission offering opinions and advice to the council. That's how the council makes the right choices for the town. It's not just sitting here with the 7 of us saying, oh, we're going to do this. We are relying on those of you that are sitting in the room tonight to help educate us. So what can I do as the liaison to help you get there? That's what you need to tell me. So I think from now on, Nicole will come and sit on this side of the table. When there are specific questions needed from the town manager, we can get answers from those. The clerk is really just going to type your minutes. Any questions that you ask of the clerk can be done via email. Hey, is there a record of this? Is there a document of this? That's her role. She can type the minutes based on the video and input from commissioners. We don't need to pay her to be here. But we can have the town manager here to answer your questions if you need them. And then also myself.
So the only thing I'd like to say, actually, it's 2 things. I was here that January meeting. I was uncomfortable as well. But just as parents, talking to their kids and hearing something that is, alarming, parents just keep their cool, right? They keep their cool and they run it. We didn't do that. We didn't keep our cool. And so that right there, we have to make sure that we know people are gonna, act crazy, but we gotta keep our cool always. And the other thing is, anytime you introduce someone from this body or anywhere else that Nicole is giving opinion rather than facts, that really is dangerous. Because it's like, okay, is she even qualified? You know what I mean? If she's given opinion, you know what I'm saying? When you say that, that is an accusation that is really a strong accusation. That woman knows, I mean, she's
extremely intelligent.
absolutely. So when I hear that, it really does concern me because if you think that way, you're not gonna respect a person talking. You know what I mean? Because you're figuring out it's just your opinion. So, we really gotta be careful about, like, what is that example? Do you have an example that she's given her opinion? Because I, just like you did, Brian, what's the example so that I can understand really her giving opinion?
If I may,
Sure.
everything, so the Supreme Court of the United States issues opinion or ruling, right? That's the way I'm using that term. It's not, oh, this is how I feel today. The zoning administrator issues an opinion, council makes a decision. So even when Nicole, in her capacity as town manager or zoning administrator, speaks directly to the town council, it is in her opinion. Now, her opinion is based in fact and knowledge. I'm not discounting that at all. But the zoning administrator and town manager does not make final decision. The council does. So it's always, that's the way I'm not saying she's pulling opinions out of, left field or anything like that. Not by any means. She is extremely knowledgeable. And her opinions hold weight. That's why I don't want that influence on a planning commission, because her opinions hold weight. And your opinions, this volunteer body should be separate from that, pulling from information that she can garner so that you can help to make that opinion.
I'm gonna bring this discussion to a closure. We could probably talk on and on, but we've been talking about it for almost 40 minutes now. At the beginning of our meeting before we actually get to business. So again, that's the significance of it and the importance of it. I don't think we need to interrogate each other or ask, to define or defend anything. I think we need to move on beyond the January meeting and the March meeting and commit to operating professionally, cooperatively, read your bylaws at the beginning. And one part, I'm not gonna read you the whole bylaw, I'm gonna read you one thing at the beginning. That is, hopefully all of you have a copy, that's behind tab C in the book. Five basic principles underlining our bylaws in section 1(2). It is one subject we can talk about at a time. Each item presented for consideration is entitled to full and complete discussion. Every member has rights equal to each other. The will of the majority will be carried out, and the rights of the minority will be preserved. And finally, the personality and desires of each member should be merged into the larger unit, the Town of Menlo Planning Commission. We want to act efficiently, respectfully. Go back to C at the top. Section 1(1) to foster and preserve a spirit of cooperation and respect among all NPC members. I think we always have done that. I got all back in January and March, but there's no reason why we can't come back to that. Don't get dragged down. Get back to business and work together cooperatively and perform the function that it's intended to do. All right. Thank you for all the comments. I think it was necessary. I'm glad that you looked on the agenda. I appreciate Ron, you're getting there. To let us understand how it all got to where it is. And to hear our views on it. And I would like for you to invite them to return. Approval of minutes. So the minutes of March 27th. Does anyone have comments? And Ms. Newton, I'll let you go first in that you brought up a point or two that you were wanting to make.
Yeah, are we on page 4? I want to make sure we're.
Yeah.
Okay, so under the approval of the minutes, it made a motion by Newton, second by Faber. And voting yay. I didn't vote yay. Oh, no, that's for the 16th, January 16th. I wasn't here for that. but I did vote yes for it. I was talking about
We're talking about the January 16th meeting or the March 27th?
March 27th.
These are the minutes of March 27th.
Is that page 5?
What page
Yeah,
are
I
you?
think it was on one, the approval of 327 minutes. It's on page 1 under there.
Yeah. So the approval of the March 27 minutes will be these that begin, that begin on page 3. That's the 27th minutes. So starting on page 3 and going to page 7, the minutes of March 27th.
Okay. I stand corrected then, because I was looking at something else.
That's why I asked that they provide us a copy. We get it online, and that's the quickest way, and that's great, but it's so small. And lots of times I've copied, but when it's 40 pages long, I don't want to copy it. So I ask that they have it here. You can look at it here better than bring your computer or look at it on your telephone. Did you have anything else? If not, who else would like to comment? Go ahead.
I do, I believe that there's a sentence that should be struck on page 7, under 2 commissioners' comments. In here, the mayor thanked the commissioners for their service. I think the last sentence is, oh, I'm sorry.
Tell me again. Where
Page 7,
Gotcha.
at the top, third sentence in that paragraph.
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
He is hopeful that there can be more cohesiveness and transparency. I think that's a, not necessarily important item for the minutes. It's a extra descriptor, but, I think that the first 2 sentences illustrate what happened during that period.
And our bylaws say to be succinct, no, we're not transcribing, we're not trying to quote everything. So that would be what was put in by the clerk, if you'd like to have that structured. And make that as part of a motion when we get to a motion. Did you have anything?
That was the
So my question, this is what struck me last time we met, what confused me. Did the mayor say that?
I wasn't at the meeting.
the final sentence.
Yes.
Specifically as a quote, agreed. I do not know if that was a verbatim statement.
Okay, I'm assuming it was because of the way she takes the meeting notes from the Zoom. And I've been troubled that one, we would have been fine that mayor thanked commissioners for their service and it feels odd to go through and select the things that don't belong when maybe a lot of it didn't. I'm having trouble explaining this.
We don't need verbatim.
We don't need verbatim, but I'm going to shut up. I'm not prepared to go into what I feel about this. Quite, because I'm not sure what I feel about it, because we're picking part of what he said and saying, well, we don't need that. Well, why didn't we pick the rest of what he said and say we didn't need that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Mr. Snyder, to address that, the first 2 sentences illustrate exactly what happened during that conversation. The third sentence is it's a statement of he is hopeful, so it's not a verbatim statement of anything that he said. It's more of a opinion, to be quite honest. Thank you, Ms. Newton. And I think it's not necessary for the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes should be specific fact, action item.
Yes, I've felt that the meeting minutes were just long.
Exactly.
But and open to nitpicking, let's take this out. But in the way you stated that, it makes sense.
Minutes, just again, I'm not in on this because I was not here that night. I did Zoom, but I'd left the meeting before this took place, so I didn't hear it. But minutes are not sacrosanct. They should not be a transcript of everything that's said. They need to be minimal, point out the primary facts that were intended and leave it at, and you want them to be as positive as they can be. So I won't side either way, but again, sometimes brevity is better, and if it's, the clerk can be as good as can be, and I'm glad that we have the clerk that we have. But just because that person picks something doesn't mean that that is always the way that the group is going to feel about it. So they've got to accept the fact that minutes can be changed and might be changed, and that's the will of the group.
Well, we just.
With all due respect, that can happen and does happen.
Yeah, just the facts. I mean, it doesn't have to become personal on everything. It's just the facts of, thank you for, he got thanked for,
And we're gonna talk about this more, it's on the agenda about this.
Which is why I'm writing notes and not talking.
So I don't think that you have spoken, would you care to say that?
No, I'm in agreement.
Okay. I would like to entertain a motion of some sort related to these.
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
I second that motion.
And that would be to strike that one sentence on page 7 in the second paragraph, or the first paragraph, number 2 item. Commissioner's comment. Any questions? Hearing none, let call for the vote. All those in favor of approving these minutes of March 27th as amended, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes unanimously, 5-0. All right, so
January and March.
January, we're taken care of, that's a March meeting. I think they ended up as not being passed, just, it was a tie. So, that's the way it'll remain, I suppose. Where are we now? We did approval of the minutes, old business review and discussion of prior capital improvement plan. So, I had put that on the January meeting. And the town manager was going to prepare and present that. I put it there because that is a function that all planning commissions are supposed to perform by state code, is to do a capital improvement plan review. But there's nothing to review here, and the town manager has never had one. To my knowledge, I've never seen it. I hadn't been before a planning commission. I don't think it exists, but it should. So I was just putting it down because we're into a new year, fiscal year, calendar year. And let's get started on it just to get the ball rolling. And we, at that meeting, the town manager didn't have the information at that time. We didn't have a February meeting. In March, I wasn't present, so I don't know what happened. So it's back on here again. And I see in the package that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a generalized capital improvement plan for, is it the county of Orange?
Yeah, a sample.
So do you
To
know?
look at and
Do
see
you
what.
know, Mayor Chapman, was this intended to be talked about, saying this is generally how it's done? We'll get around to it, we're just not ready to do it yet.
I think so. I think this was intended to be kind of an example of what a CIP looks like. And then give the planning commission the opportunity to suggest what the town's CIP should look like. So we don't have to follow suit to Orange County. We can put whatever we want in our CIP. So I think this was an idea, an example, gives you kind of what the line items are that a CIP should include, and then give the freedom of the planning commission to make those recommendations to council.
Thank you. I would think that getting started, we as a planning commission need to have something given to us to work with. I don't mean the plan itself, but what kind of projects are there out there that the town is working on, so that we don't just have to bring up things on top of our head. I think we need to rely upon the town manager and or the treasurer to provide us assistance on this is the kind of money that we have available right now to be talking about, including the capital improvements plan. And some of the projects that have been talked about are A, B, C, and D. And then, and then in today's world or by today's laws, you're supposed to spread it out over a certain number of years. It used to be 5 years. I don't know if that's still what it is. Because they have them 10, 15, and 20. But anyway, y'all's chance to point out whatever you care to say about it. I just want us to get started on it. We're not being pushed to, but if there's a need for a capital improvement plan, if we can help, I think we would be more than glad to, but we can't start from scratch.
Would it be beneficial to give a budget for this year and last year, compare at the expenses?
I would certainly think so. They're working on their budget now that hasn't been adopted, so it may be that we kind of got to wait and plan, get going as soon as they adopt a budget for this coming year. I don't know, but
Okay.
yes, you're right.
We get both, and then that way we can plan, so that's where these totals come from.
Right, yes.
So we can't plan their spending.
Yeah.
The spending is planned by whoever gets that allocation.
Right.
I like the information here, because I'm thinking Orange has got a bigger budget than ours.
Good.
But, and I think that often in terms, for example, the Parks Committee may have this much money but there's no plan attached to it. This is what I like.
Right.
I don't know that it's prepared, that the town is prepared to give that to us. And we're not being tasked to come up with this. So this would be what we look at to see how we are doing, and maybe then to say to council, you are ahead of your plan or you are falling behind on these portions of the plan.
Yeah,
May I interject something?
certainly.
I understand what you're saying, but if you have a budget, like from last year, the expenditures for that year, they're coming up with a new one now, but they've also based it on that, and they're adding a percentage to whatever's required of Parks and Recreation or whatever. They'll put it all in this budget. The thing that we need to concentrate on is how can we help the council pull in more revenue? So we can get what we want in the 5 years. Because if we don't have the revenue, it makes no sense in doing any kind of 5-year plan. Because we don't have that kind of money. So we've got to see what the revenue is, what the expenses are from last year, and be able to go forward with that.
So, other commissions that kind of served, they knew exactly what the area needed. And they actually put this together because they had their finger on the pulse as to where we should be going. And money shouldn't be an issue because we can get grants and stuff. It could be a big dollar thing, but it needs to be said. And so that's how other commissions have done it. You know what I mean? The wish list. This is what we want. This is what we need. We need, water. So not thinking about budget, but really kind of putting together what we need for this town.
Well, that's the revenue part. Where can we get the grants? How much do we have to pay back?
That's the hard work.
Nobody in the town knows anything about grants, I don't think.
So,
I've asked.
but it needs to be said first. We have to dream and then we have to build it. There's grants all over the place. They really are, but we have to identify what we need first.
Jim?
So we're responsible for bringing or putting together the, and someone's going to please pop this into my brain because my brain does not have the right term. The plan for
Comprehensive plan?
the comprehensive plan. That's separate from the budget. That's separate from everything else. So then, rather than looking at the budget or the fundraising, if the town has accepted a comprehensive plan, I think what's coming from us is, all right, you want to do this, this is what it's going to take. And this is in order to do this in 5 years, here's how this should be spaced out. Then the next year we look at it and says, well, we're doing well here, we need to adjust this, or even respond to changes that happen, such as the water system. We don't do the money collecting, we don't do the funding, and certainly we can help with grants, but that's not what we do. We do that long-term plan. And then the report card on that long-term plan. That's what I think I understand.
2 reasons for the capital improvements plan. One is for long-term planning, out years ahead of what you have budgeted money to do with in any given budget. Secondarily, by law, counties, cities, and towns aren't supposed to just carry money that's not identified what's going to be spent each year. That's why they have a capital improvements, because they can take in money and bank money that they've got and spread them out, because they've identified 4, 5, 10, 20 years out that some of these monies are going to that. Without having a capital improvements plan, you're supposed to spend what you got, and then that's it. And you're not supposed to have leftover money. So we're a small town. They get by sometimes without having to do that. So I don't think we need to rush into this. It's something that hadn't been done, needs to be done. I think we do need assistance of the town manager and the treasurer to let us know about the monies that they already got. Will let us know about what they're anticipating in the next year's budget. So I think we need to be looking at doing it in the coming year.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, I just wanted to say, when I saw this included in the agenda, I got excited because first of all, 20 million, but of course it's not actually us.
Right.
But the other thing
It's
that
a county, not a town.
But the other thing that excited me was the actual listing out of all of these specific subject and line items that actually give us a jumping off point,
Right.
which I think it would be a fantastic idea for us as a planning commission to have a workshop session that we can have open to the public informally, where we actually take this information, the previous comprehensive plan, the budgets, both previous and the upcoming proposed budgets, and we can sit down and actually start planning, because this is the fun part. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to dream and go back to the council and tell them, hey, we want to develop these roads, we want to put in this park, we want to, rehaul the water system, not necessarily our thing, but they're already on that.
Water is just as important and
It
more
is.
so.
Exactly.
Water, sewer, parks, libraries if you have them, museums if you have them,
Exactly, more so that it's in the,
trails, all those types of.
right, more so that it's just in the plan already that the council's discussing and they're remediating the issues currently. So it's not necessarily something that we have to focus on as a major emergency, but, just for that as an example.
Right.
But I would very much support doing a workshop within the next month or so with the community involvement.
I would agree with you that a workshop is a good idea. I will disagree from the standpoint of doing it a month from now, because we've got to get an idea of the monies. It's going to be spinning your wheels to hold a meeting, get everybody's ideas when you don't know anything about the financial situation. At least I don't anyway.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of correction for you there. I did not say a month from now, I said within the next month. So within the next 30 days, I would like to have a workshop. I want to get on this. This is not let's hold it off until later.
Well, we'll put that up for a bit then.
Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
I have a
Hold on
suggestion.
1 second. I'm going to the audience because both of you are sitting there. Neither one of you, public commented beforehand. I want to be open, so go right ahead.
I have a suggestion. Work you, Ron, you can confirm, but we have a work session coming up for budget. May 10th. If anybody would like to attend, it might be very informative.
Sounds reasonable. When is that,
I don't,
May,
that's what I was saying, well, you need to
I
confirm
think
it.
it's the 10th, but I'll confirm it. We have the whole budget schedule has been approved, so I'll get you all copies of the budget schedule. I was holding my hand up to say something, but he just took the words right out of my mouth. If I may, I just want to point out the comprehensive plan is the overall dream, right? That's the unicorns and rainbows and let's have a football stadium on Mineral Avenue. That's the comprehensive plan. The CIP gets more into the nitty gritty with infrastructure, with emergency services, with making sure we have street lights and sidewalks. So you want to think about capital improvement versus comprehensive, which is over encompassing. It can be parks, it can be all of the pretty that we want to see, enhancing businesses and finding the money. But I can only speak for myself as one member of the council or one person on council. I want to see the dream. I want to see, all right, let's put that football stadium on Mineral Avenue. Let council find the money. We'll find the grants. We'll figure it out. I mean, not for a football stadium, we don't have the space, but the CIP is more the nail on the head. It's narrowing down that focus. And those are the two documents that council looks to for every decision if we're doing our jobs. So when the planning commission put together the comprehensive plan, when something comes before the council for a vote, we refer to that document. I mean, if you saw my copy at home, it's faded. It looks like it's 200 years old because I refer to it all the time as, all right, this was the overarching plan. Now, how do we take those overarching, I think it was 86 bullet points on the comprehensive plan in total. So how do we take those 86 points and put them into effect? So same thing with the capital improvement plan, but that's based on the capital. So that's what does the town own? What does the town fund? So do we need new tractors? Do we need new wells? Do we need new? That's the capital improvements plan.
Y'all go back and forth. Again, capital improvement plan, we had something, the town manager had said that she was going to present it earlier. And not here tonight. I think that we should have a presentation from her personally. And then Tony has just sent me 6 very lengthy bullets about capital improvements plan. And Tony comes from a background of economic development and county work. Tony, please share what you just said to me.
I mean, it was just really kind of outlining what we do, how we go about it in a systematic way. And so the bullets really, it comes to all the things that we've talked about, you know, of course, leading this is the planning commission, right? You know, helping to put it together. And then that presents to the council members because we know kind of what, if we're doing our jobs, kind of knowing what we need and how to plan for it, you know what I mean? And so by doing that, then we include, of course, Public Works, the financial department, which you had mentioned earlier, and then the community input, because when we do this, we want the community input so that they'll bless it, you know? And so that's the key thing. And then if we need some advisories or need to bring in some consultants and stuff like that, then we can do that. But the process is done really by us, you know what I mean? Like kind of really getting our hands around it. And like you said, this is the fun part, man. We can really do something here. This is what we kind of should be doing. The comprehensive plan, we did that, worked on it, so it should marry that. It should, you know, we're not starting from ground zero. We already done some of the work.
That's exactly why I had suggested that we get started on it. But you are supposed to have this done like in January, December or January, so that the entity, the council in our case, or counties, then they have it before they start working on their budget. That's too late. They're finalizing their budget now and have to have a public hearing and adopt it in May and June. To get ahead of that is next to impossible, in my view. And I think that we should, you know, target doing it next year and get all of our ducks in a row. I would love input from staff, particularly the town manager, regarding it. Talk about this and all. So I'd like for us to continue on it, but I think it's a great leap for us to just immediately have a workshop and call everybody in when we haven't necessarily spent any time on it. I think we need to spend some time on it and then invite the public in so we can answer the questions. last comment. Oh, I'll.
I'm sorry.
Last.
So is there anything that members of this committee can do here to help the committee with its work? Do some of us get together and consider how public safety is an issue and all of that to list out some ideas that can either be shot down or said, yes, we didn't do this.
If you want to form committees of the planning commission, subcommittees, could be done. Never known of it, but could be, certainly. If you're
I don't think.
anxious to do that.
I don't think this venue is I don't know that we'll get a whole lot done if we do it all here.
Well, again, we've gone from January to February to March. Now this is April. I don't think personally that we can provide a good product to council before the budget is due, even if we call a special meeting for a week from now, or 2 weeks from now. But that's just my view. Final, since you're anxious.
I appreciate that. So the comment that I was going to make earlier was I double checked on my phone to see what May 10th was, and it's a Saturday. So I wanted to ask if either of the council members in the house this evening knows like what day it was potentially into the Saturday.
I have a meeting on Ron.
Monday or Thursday or something, I was kind of thinking.
I'll pull it. I'll get it sent out.
The reason I ask is, and this is to reiterate my point earlier, and while I most definitely agree with Chairman Cuby's idea that we need to get on this and we need to work, that's the reason why I suggested the workshop. The workshop being an actual working session that doesn't necessarily need to involve council or anybody else. We make it an open session, so if anyone from the community wants to come in and give their input, but it's gonna be more of an informal, hey, let's go through these lists, let's look at the budget, let's look at the comprehensive plan. We all come prepared with our own material and say, hey, this is what seems to be important to council. Let's all come together, create that cohesive plan and put those pieces together. And if we do that very quickly and close to that budget meeting, we can potentially have something to show council as a capital improvements plan, even just a draft version.
Well, we have a Facebook page. Why not put out a survey of what they would like to see?
Because we've already done that with the comprehensive plan, and I think it's important to have the citizens come in, if that's the answer to your question.
May 7th,
May 7th, thank you.
6:30.
Thank you, Mr. Hempstead.
And I have some time if you want to do that. I mean,
Someone wants to make a motion. We're spending a lot of time on a matter of general discussion. I can tell you that I'm gonna be away again, and I don't know for how long I'm gonna be away. So I will not be heading this up if someone else on council wants to, the planning commission wants to pursue a driving of making this material come together. More than happy to let someone else do that, but I probably will not be available for at least, and certainly another month, maybe more, maybe several months. So motion, let's get it off the table and do something. Or again, it was just, here was an idea. This is a $21 million thing that the counties have been doing for probably 20 years or more. And the town of Mineral wants to get started on it. If we can get it done and get started on it right away, go for it. But somebody else would have to take the lead. Yes.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I would suggest that you take the comprehensive plan, break it up. Or I said that right, comprehensive plan, break it up, pull from that public safety, public maintenance, and assign a commission member that realm of the CIP and let them work with staff, collaborate with the committees associated in those. So whoever gets public works is going to work with our water and sewer committee. Whoever gets, I don't know what they call it on here, general services, I guess that would fall under parks. Oh no, there's a parks and recreation section, would work with our parks and rec committee. And we know it's not going to happen for this budget season. There's just no way. I mean, our budget's almost done and council's going into the final stages of approving it. But if this commission takes a whole, even, let's say, 6 or 7 months to put together a well thought out plan, then we can incorporate it into the next budget, which I promise you comes up quicker than we can think about. So I would suggest break up the workload amongst the commissioners and see where they want to pull from. Just my suggestion.
I'll entertain a motion from someone.
Well, I would like to make a motion, especially acknowledging the fact that Chairman Cubey will not be able to be here or will have limited availability. I suggest we have an informal meeting at Town Hall in this room on May 8th at 6:30 for anyone who'd like to attend, since the budget has come out, where we can get together and we can open up the Zoom meeting so you can attend and offer your opinions as well. And instead of actually having it be a formal commission meeting in that respect, and I don't know the specific Robert's Rules of Order and bylaws and all of that, so someone else is gonna have to do the follow-up on that. But give us just a chance to get together and work together and discuss things that are in the plan as a working session.
May 8th at what time?
I would say 6:30, just to keep with our standard.
That's a Thursday. So that would be the second Thursday in May. Do I hear a second to that?
I second.
Okay, so a motion and a second. Discussion. I will say this, that if this passes and you want to go that route, someone needs to be sure to make the public notice that's required for you to have the meeting. You're going to get the information out and all, and someone needs to step up and I guess volunteer to run the meeting. Surely, I know. Won't be hard.
I will run the meeting if you'd like. I also had cataract surgery the day before, so that might.
No, you're not gonna know.
But I won't see any better than I do now, so. Big notes.
Okay, so.
I want to be there and do this.
Would it be more beneficial for you to show up for the meeting on the 6th versus the 8th? I mean, it's before the budget meeting, so we wouldn't have their newer information, but we could work off of the old budget.
So you can distract me for the surgery the next morning.
Exactly.
That might.
Okay, I would say we got a motion, a second on the floor to make it Thursday, May 8th at 6:30. I'll call for the vote and just tell you, after the vote, I'm gonna ask who wants to volunteer and either make one person or two people in charge of seeing that all the necessary things take place to have it happen. But that'll be secondarily after the vote. All those in favor of having the workshop as described by Brian about the capital improvements plan here at the town office on May 8th, assuming that it's available at 6:30 p.m. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? So that passes 5-0. All right, so secondarily, again, I will not be able to participate in it. And so I would like one or two volunteers to spearhead this capital improvements venture into a workshop.
Volunteer.
Okay, so I got one volunteer. Is there a second person to be part of this?
I volunteer to be here in whatever state I'm in.
I'll be here as well.
I want to either have one or two, not four. It won't be
We-
so.
We can work together.
Do you want to partner up together?
Yeah, I mean, we're only talking about what, a week away,
Yeah.
but we need to talk to the town manager, about
I don't think so.
this stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
And get the docs beforehand, might do the work before that day. So we can.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I think the budget is actually on the town website as well as a matter of public record, so we can pull that easily as well as
Talking about the current budget.
the current budget, not the proposed budget.
All right, then as chairman, I'll appoint a committee to work on the capital improvements plan for the planning commission. I would assume that, the chairman has the authority to do that. And in that you're saying that you had surgery the day before and uncertainty as to how that will affect you.
That's fine.
I will appoint Brian and Teresa to head that up and encourage both of you all to be actively involved.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
would like to suggest that Mr. Schneider not skip dinner before any meetings because it makes him too ambivalent.
I just, for clarification, so I'm advertising a special workshop for the capital improvements plan for May 8th at 6:30. Okay, I just want to make sure I get the details before because I'll send this out, we'll get it advertised tomorrow. It's required by law 3 days to advertise, so we're within that limit.
3 days is what's required of notice that you're gonna have like a committee meeting or something, and I guess we consider this as a planning commission committee meeting.
Right.
So
Okay,
be sure to put it up in places, but if you're doing this, with the idea of also including the public, like you first mentioned, then you need to get it out there further, and you ought to get that out a lot more than 3 days ahead.
yeah, I'll get the staff on it tomorrow.
You all. All right, let's move on. The overlay district, discussion regarding the overlay district. Board over.
This is going to sound a lot like what Brian just mentioned. I think that this is something that we could get into putting together and doing a lot of the legwork. It's not a big town. You can probably do this without any big hassle other than spending lots of money. Did you? Oh,
Yeah, well.
so that was, what I'd like us to consider is letting a small group work on the overlay district, give a deadline, and then take a look at how much we've accomplished in a set period of time. At that point, you could decide whether you need to go back to TJ district. But I'm hoping that we can do this without spending a huge amount of money and accomplish what we need.
Okay. What else? Again, this was discussed at the March meeting, right? I wasn't here for that, but I saw the presentation. I think it was after that, who else would like to comment? Brian, you had commented earlier at the beginning of the agenda for you.
Yes, I most definitely support that idea. I think that anything that we can do to try and help save the town some money, as well as actually work on these items ourselves, I think would be very beneficial. And I think having the TJ PDC, is that correct this time, as a reference source or as a source of truth, basically, for anything that we're trying to do. It's nice that we would have that backup if we need to go to them. But yeah, why not try and solve in-house if we can?
Anyone that hasn't spoken next?
And a lot of agree with Brian because, he said to call from what?
It was Isabella O'Brien. from
Yes, that's
Discussion Planning District.
definitely. She said that she would help in anything, anyway. So
Yeah.
I think we can take advantage, I hate to say it, but we can take advantage of that, to save a lot of money.
And Tony?
I'm just in agreement with everybody.
I checked today to find out from the County Planning District what they may have done on our behalf since the last meeting, because I know I did see that on the Zoom meeting. And it was tabled, and I do believe that I recall Isabella O'Brien saying that she would like to talk with the county of Louisa and maybe the town of Louisa, because she had heard that the town of Louisa was getting the county to help them with their capital, their comprehensive plan update. And that, you know, maybe all of three organizations could work together and save some money. First time I saw the presentation figure that they gave us for coming here to do our overlay district, which is supposed to be done to support the capital improvements plan that's already been adopted, was I think $25,000, which I had contacted her and told her, you'll never get that. You need to bring it down if you're gonna have a reasonable chance to get it approved. And I think that it might come in at 15,000 then. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I read it a month ago.
Actually, all I have starts at 39,000
Was it that?
and drops to 23,800.
Okay, I know it was real high,
Yeah,
and I told them, you're going to win. That's not gonna happen, you know, you need to get it down. I mean, it did bring it down, but it's still high. So, she offered to, from what I heard, remember, to go and talk with the county and talk with Louisa and see if we could work together and bring the price down on everybody and have us all mutually participating and coordinating, which I think is really a good idea. But anyway, so I hadn't heard anything about this, so I wrote her today and asked her for a status update. She wrote me back this. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for checking in. After the meeting, there was internal discussion within our agency about the request to contact Louisa County. The conclusion reached was that initiating contact with the county regarding their potential support for the overlay district update wasn't the appropriate step for our agency to take at this time. As a result, no outreach was made. My apologies that this update didn't reach you sooner. I will not be attending the NPC meeting tonight, but please let me know if you have any other questions. So this lady, Isabella O'Brien, is a planner for the planning district. She and I attended the Certified Planning Commissioners Institute a year and a half ago in Richmond. And both of us graduated from that. Really intelligent person. I think that we need to work with TJPDC. They helped us adopt a comprehensive plan, which is visionary and a lot of detail to it. This town, for the last 5 years before that, had done nothing but understand what was done 15 years before, basically, as I can tell, because it's been around a long time saying basically the same thing. So I think working with the planning district is good. I don't think it'll ever get done. If you do it on your own, trying to do it. Again, I encourage you, if you want to be energetic and try to do it on your own, I'll just wager a bet that you'll be spinning your wheels and it won't happen. But again, as our bylaws say, majority rule. And if you want to make the effort, I give you every support that I can to get it done. But once more, I'm not in a position personally right now to be able to do that sort of thing. And the planning district is good at it. And the point that I have made is I don't think it's the planning commission's place to determine what monies can and can't be spent for planning. The council decides that. I personally think that working with the planning district, Louisa County and the town of Louisa would be terrific. But I think that we've got a black eye here in Mineral because of all the bad publicity and all the chaos that has occurred and continues to occur. So, you know, let's give this a shot and try to save some money. But my whole thing was I was trying to present it and just say it's a good idea, it needs to be done. Let the council determine. Why are we determining that this? I mean, the council could say we'll give $10,000 and that's it. Work with that. That might be an idea. It might work. But why is the planning commission determining how much money council should put into developing an overlay district. The purpose of the overlay district is to protect Louisa Avenue and Mineral Avenue. And right now, there's a lot going on Louisa and Mineral Avenue that this overlay district would have stopped. It would not necessarily have stopped. It would have given you the ability to impact it and decide what's good and bad and what you want to do. If you don't get that sort of thing, then most of the land that's available to be developed may be gone by the time you get around to it. That's my point. So I'll call for the vote on what action the planning commission would like to take.
I make a motion that, we get the town manager or the mayor to see what they want us to do with the overlay. And, then we'll gather that information and give them whatever they need as far as the money is concerned, and they can approve or whatever. That's what I say. I mean, they can tell us at that time how much we can spend, but on the other hand, we don't know what their thoughts are on this.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, I'll second that. If I can. Any more comment? Hold on. Asking for, I'm trying to see. He raised his hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand quickly. But just cease it first.
So my thoughts on that is they look to us to be the professionals to give them the recommendation to do that work, right? I mean, so we kind of have a little bit, not authority, but they're looking to us to bring something to them to say yes or no. So the conversation we started saying, this is what this town needs. This is the planning commission making the recommendation that this is what you need to do. Because that's why they have us, is to like put these things together so they can, because they don't want to really get into the meat and potatoes. They want us to do it and give a recommendation and then they say yay or nay. So I understand what you're saying, because it's like, you ain't throwing a bone, you ain't giving us a bone at all. You know, why do we want to even start doing anything? But they're looking for us to kind of be the catalyst to get it going and to get it started so that they can say, well, this is looking good, but you know what I mean? The conversation starts. So I think I think that's what they're looking for us to do.
I understand. Planning commissions have a staff, the counties have a big staff. And they do most of the work and the planning commission votes on it. But planning commissions need to be involved in things they haven't been done here. But again, us doing it ourselves, do you have the expertise? Some don't. Do you have the time to do it? And do you want to do it versus staff doing it? But yeah, it's good.
I think at minimum, you should give the council 3 options. The high dollar option, the cheaper option, or the option of us trying this and then going back for help if needed. One of the things, one of the ways they saved money on the second plan was cutting out public meetings. And if we want to have public meetings, we can expect to spend $1,000 if we want to add in a public meeting. I think we can do a public meeting cheaper than $1,000. So I would not be happy with sending this alone.
One person's comment, second person's comments.
I agree with comments.
All right, so we'll call for the vote. We have a motion to send it to the.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject, I'm sorry. So the motion on the table right now is for the town manager or mayor to communicate back to the planning commission what the needs of the council are. I just want to make sure I understand what.
I mean, we need to know what your desires are too with this.
Okay. I just want to point out, so Mr. Williams, I got it right this time, made a great point. The council is going to look to you all as our planning commission, but that doesn't mean we can't collaborate. That's my new word of the month. is collaborate. And be able to work together back and forth. This doesn't have to be decided on in one conversation, right? It's gonna take some time. I will mention that on the 29th of this month, I will be meeting with the Deputy Commissioner for Louisa County. So these are great things that I can bring up in that meeting. Hey, look, our planning commission is heavily involved in getting our overlay district set up. How can the county help us? So the mission of that meeting is to garner help from the county in many avenues of town business, sidewalks, overlay district, water support, things of that nature. So I can absolutely be the liaison between the county and the planning commission and, you know, what are they willing to do for us? Say, if they want to write us a check, we are not too rich to turn it down. But I think if you all approve this motion, there needs to be some clarification as to what I am going back to council and saying, this is what the planning commission needs from us. So we need to put some fine tuning on that motion, I think.
I'd like to make a suggestion to potentially alter the motion, that you said. I believe that in the motion, we should, okay, go ahead and present both options to council, if we're gonna do that, and also provide them the concept of the third option, where we can try and do it in-house cheaper. And yeah, all right, if that's what the council wants and that's what the rest of the county wants, because they were elected citizens, that's fine. We can go off of that, or the council can come back and say, now we wanna save money, show us what else you can do, and then we have a place to move forward. So I think that would probably be a fantastic way to give us that jumping off point and figure out where we wanna move forward, so we don't spin our wheels.
And I have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Do you want to change your motion in any way?
I'm liking it. I guess I'm looking at it, make sure we're on the same page, first of all. So, I still say, I don't know the desires of the council. Do you? I mean, we don't, we're discussing this, and I understand what Tony says, that we've got to present it to him, but if there's something outlined here that they didn't want, why are we giving them a budget figure for it? That's what I'm looking at, saving time for us instead of spinning the wheels, because we're starting, we're green here. So I need some help there.
I would suggest that we just vote on it. If it doesn't pass, then somebody will make another motion.
Okay.
To me, again, I seconded your motion because I just don't feel that the council shouldn't see what's presented and they determine whether the budget is there or not. They want to refer it back to us, they can refer it back to us. I don't think we need to spend our time working on it. And trying to create something that this is what the planning district is created for, to do, to help all the counties, towns, and all in the state of Virginia to do this sort of stuff. They are the professionals. If we think we can do it better, great. If we don't think we can do it better, but we can do it cheaper, is that a better thing? I don't know. I do know that an overlay district needs, in my mind, to happen soon, not us spin our wheels and spend 6 or 8 months or 10 months. I'll talk with you. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
And then I'll do roll call. I'm not sure.
I'm confused.
I didn't change your motion, it was what you said. You know,
I think,
all this discussion, I'm trying to be,
and maybe if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think what Ms. Newton has suggested is that the concept be presented to council, get the feedback of the town council, and then go from there as a planning commission. So the town council could say, no, we're not doing an overlay district, forget it, don't even bother.
I hope that doesn't kill it, because that was my suggestion.
So I think we present it, if this is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but present it as it's been presented by the TJPDC. Let the council say yes, no, indifferent, we're not spending this much money, we'll give you $10 versus the $23,000. Whatever council decides, and then the commission takes their marching orders from that. Is that what I'm understanding your?
And let me take that up, because I think you had good advice. I'll even add to that and say that you can, in my mind, make the motion that the planning commission send it on to the council because of the cost with concerns, and we're not recommending it, we're just sending it as is for the council to be aware of and have an opportunity to decide what they want to do with it. Instead of holding it up here, send it on without a recommendation for approval, and you can express a concern with the costs that's been provided by the planning district. Would you agree to that
Yes, that's.
change? I will agree as second for that sake.
That sounds.
Would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Newton,
Yes.
Mr. Thaler,
Yes.
Mr. Cubey,
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
No, I mean.
You can say, you can vote yes or no.
I know.
We'll go to Mr. Snyder and Mr. Williams.
So can I say something for, I mean, because I'm just trying to figure this out. I want to support it if I'm understanding it. So the comprehensive plan has some areas of overlay districts in it. So it's really what they're already have approved, right?
So this would be fine tuning that district though.
It is specific, not to the whole town, specific to Mineral Louisa and First Street where it connects the two. And it, you know, again, I don't want to get into the whole discussion of it, but it is to make that an appealing place for the public, travelers and businesses to want to move here, invest here, and having a, you know, something more upbeat and presentable
Yes.
to the outside world.
My vote is yes.
So that's 4 yeses and 1 no.
The motion passes 4-1. That motion, just to repeat, not in depth, is to send it on without a recommendation, but to send it for consideration of the town council. Thank you all. Good comments. And I hope that we can move along a little faster.
Okay. You got
But,
that.
hey, we're gonna hear everything out. Good discussions. Where are we? We've finished item 1 and 2 in old business. Item 3, discussion of light commercial zoning classification permitted uses. Yep. I asked for that to be put on the agenda. And I asked for that because, I don't know, several weeks ago, up to a month ago, questions came to my mind about Mineral Avenue and Louisa with development, all that has occurred and was occurring. And so I got the staff to make me a copy of the zoning ordinances that we had reviewed. We spent time and went through the zoning classifications. The residential limited, residential general, light commercial, general commercial, and PUD. And we went through it quickly in the hopes of plugging some loopholes or gaps that might appear from the ordinance being a little bit out of date. And made some suggestions along the way. And we sent our recommendation, had a public hearing, sent our recommendation on to the council. And the council had their public hearings, and ultimately they were all approved, more current than what they may have been before. But one thing out of my whole reading that surprised me if you will look at the package that has the code, zoning code specifications on it, is the light commercial district ordinance number 2024-05. The ordinance gives the zoning statement of intent, the use regulations, permitted uses with conditional use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What immediately jumped out to me was under use regulations within any light, are y'all with me? Or not? Okay. Within any light commercial district as indicated on the zoning map, no lot, building, or structure shall be used, and no building shall be erected which is intended or designed to be used in whole or in part for any industrial or manufacturing purpose, or for any other than the specified purposes. So what's here is what is permitted. And banks and office buildings are fine, and the other things that are on there are fine, except to my surprise, single-family dwellings is on that list of permitted uses in the commercial district, light commercial district. Light commercial district is from 3rd Street, which is the end of the parking lot beside the town office, back this way to the end of town, going south going south towards Richmond. That is our light commercial district. I think that is also the case on Louisa Avenue as it goes to your house. That's light commercial as well. My recollection of our discussions and intentions were that we wanted, and again, this goes to the overlay district again, we wanted this to be something to attract people to come here and businesses to invest here and to build some additional either restaurants or all types of merchandise types of things. And if there are living involved in it, then that would be best if it was on the 2nd floor or above it, like you find in Gordonsville, or you might find in Orange, or a lot of other old towns and all. So single family dwellings is not what I was expecting to see. Now, the argument can be said, well, there's a lot of single family dwellings that are already in the general district, general commercial district, and there are, but most of them were built long before zoning ever existed. You know, even back to the late 18th century, 19th century, and all up to today. So I don't think single family dwellings were meant to be in there. And since it is there, then I think that, in my opinion, the spaces that haven't been built on between the end of town up here to the light and to the right up first, and then back out to the church, Mineral Baptist, I think is the end of Louisa Avenue in the town, are going to build out with houses before anything else comes. And that is not the intent. And it was brought up in our discussions about non-conforming acts. We have non-conforming things that already exist, and our code says that those houses can stay. You can't shut them down. If they burn to the ground, you may not be able to replace it, but they are non-conforming, they are allowed. And I think that this is just setting us up to encourage the continuation, because again, the other part is what I've also added to the agenda about lot sizes. When the town changed its minimum lot size about 4 or 5 years ago from 15,000 down to 5,000, I think that is what is bringing the development to this town suddenly, because everybody can build now on 5,000 square foot, just like the 14 lots down the avenue got built. What, that was 14 lots on about 1.5 acres. If it was 15,000, wouldn't have happened. But now you've got postage stamp size lots available, and you can put houses in commercial. We won't have a chance, in my opinion, to get businesses to locate here, because it'll all be built out with these types of houses. So with that in mind, that's my perspective anyway. I think that this is an urgent matter, that if it was intentionally changed and meant to be changed to single family dwellings, that's outside of my recollection, but I didn't see this until it was approved and got approved by the town council. So sometime along the way, that got placed there. Do you all have a problem with single family housing being a permitted use in light commercial district? I asked that.
I have an objection to it because it's not what the intent was. And if it's full of houses, you're not gonna be able to do any businesses in here.
So I have a opposite argument to that and actually addressing a concern you brought up previously too. For example, if a house burned down, and I'd like to point out that my house is located in one of these like commercial districts as well. If my house was to burn down and law passed and single family dwellings are no longer allowed, I could not technically rebuild my home. If I wanted to sell my home and I wanted to sell it to somebody other than a developer or a business, then I would not be able to do so as a residential property. I could only sell it as like commercial. That is a problem because that is taking away the rights of the citizens who own property in this town and who live in this town, and will set them up for potential failure. I think it's a better solution to be had versus actually limiting the changes that are happening to the single family dwelling specifically. If we want to have that, something like the overlay district where we could actually lock in and say, no new single family developments at this point. It needs to be new, it needs to be specific. Laws are written specifically for a reason, and I think any recommendation we should give council needs to have that specificity.
Okay,
Well, and two, I have seen situations like this where it was grandfathered in.
yes, that's right.
And so we're talking about somebody losing their home and then they can't rebuild there. That might be something that's gonna harm the individuals that lost that home.
Right.
It puts them in I mean, I have to think of this, it would put me in a financial bind if I couldn't rebuild where my
Right.
home was.
Well, I'm not, again, there is a provision about non-conforming that says that, I think that if it's beyond, if it's less than 70%, I think is what I recall reading, then you could build it back. If it's totally, I don't think that it is allowed to. But again, it is a commercial zoning classification. And if anything that's written here is applying to new things that are going to be built. You're talking about single family dwellings by right, you're gonna get a permit for it. If you leave this, then that's gonna be the thing that will materialize on its own without any town involvement in trying to make this a better place to attract the types of entertainment and mercantile types of things.
Well,
So-
if that's our intent, I make a motion that they take that part out.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it. I think, in fact, that we ought to be encouraging that it go to the council and for them to consider having it as a joint public hearing. And I, for one, am one that has been on the record of not supporting joint public hearings. Because I think that we need to have our own deliberative matter and not be council just waiting for us to act before they can act. But to me, this is highly important because I see it already happening. And I think that single family dwellings should not be being built in commercial. You set aside commercial, general and light commercial, and then you have residential. You don't mix the two. What's there is already available. And if we want to change the non-conforming to something else that eliminates there being that you can't build back, let's do that. Don't make single family homes by right. Otherwise, if at the very least, do what's at the end here. It says except modulars are permitted by conditional use permit. If you want to say single family dwellings can be built in the commercial, then say it's a conditional use permit and they'll have to come before the council and decide whether you're going to allow it to be done or not. Or I seem to remember that the county of Louisa has a thing about if houses burn down or certain, there are appeals that they can make as far as being able to rebuild on their lot. So there probably are other zoning additions or changes that can be to address if your house burns down. But I don't think we should be advertising so that anybody that wants to can see, I can come buy in the commercial and build a whole bunch of houses on 5,000 square foot lots. So I'll talk about the 5,000 later, but they're connected as to why I see it as urgent that the town work on these things.
So this dates back to 1988, because I have the code here in my hand from my ancient book.
Which part dates back to 1988?
Residential I'll read it to you. It says, within any light commercial district as indicated on the zoning map, no lot building or structure shall be used, no building shall be erected which is intended or designed to be used whole for any industrial or manufacturing purpose for any other purpose than following the specified purposes. And A is all purposes permitted in the aforementioned residential district, provided that multifamily dwellings and apartments must be authorized by a conditional use permit.
Yep, that was wording before, and that was some of what we were trying to change, because we didn't want to say that everything in residential was therefore permitted in commercial. That's what it used to say. That was not good, but then somehow single family dwellings, or how this is called, single family dwellings got placed here.
So when,
So we did away with one, but we didn't make it any better.
well,
What you're speaking of has been eliminated. The public hearings were held by us and the town council. That's no longer existing. But instead of that, it's even easier and more plainly said that you can build single family dwellings in commercial, which I think that's got to be.
which is historically what's happened. How old is your house?
130 plus years.
And mine's 120 some, but they were 50 to 70 years ahead of zoning existing.
Right. So in the town, if you look at historic buildings on Main Street, a lot of them are houses. Yours used to be a hotel. Or a boarding house. It had some, I can talk to you about that again. So it feels like we're trying to prevent what already happened. And it's being driven by not being happy about another piece of legislation or ordinance that I was asked to write. There, I've said what I've said.
I would like to say something. I understand what you're saying, but we want this to be a profitable thing for all the residents. And yes, they've been building houses and they have today. That's what we're trying to do, keep residents out of the commercial district. So it can, this overlay that is part of the overlay, really, it's to protect this town. This town is gonna fall apart unless we have more revenue coming in. You've got to serve the people within the town.
I have answers for all of that, but I don't know that I want to take the time to do that. If you drive through Louisa County, this was a project my fourth graders did. There are stores everywhere that are no longer stores as the car came about. Mineral is in a situation where people travel away to shop. It's even hit Louisa. There are stores that no longer function as the stores they were originally built to be. Because one, nobody walks to a pharmacy here, nobody buys furniture over there, nobody goes to the hotel over there. The factory that was right over here is gone. The lumberyard, which is right beside it, is gone. So when you go back and you look at the history, the historical district, it was not what it feels like people want it to be. We're trying to remember something that didn't exist.
Well, I'm not referring to shopping. I'm referring to entertainment and food. You know, we're in a small town, we have one good restaurant. Excuse me, two, because there's others. And I personally have to go an hour's drive to go somewhere to have a nice dinner. Or outside entertainment, patio seating and stuff like that. Don't you want that here? Don't you think that these young people, keep the young people here?
For as long as I've lived here, people have saying, we need a bowling alley.
I didn't mention that though.
And it's something you can, I don't know that zoning is going to fix that, but I don't want him to lose a house. I don't want those things to happen. And I think until somebody has accessibility and protection for those houses that exist in there, we shouldn't change it. I wouldn't support changing it. There are buildings that have gone from house to business and back to house. First,
Okay, I'm gonna ask to just get back to this
I thought I
particular
was on
subject.
time.
The subject at hand is just single family dwellings, not the whole, you know, the whole thing of the zoning in the town and all. And since I put it on there, I'm just, again, I'll be willing to just pass on it if it's not significant on the table at all. My single purpose for putting it on there is that this, as written, is putting a green light out there for people to come into this town, use up anything along Mineral Avenue and Louisa Avenue that is only places that we have commercial in the town. The PUD could be, because that's mixed use, but it hasn't been developed yet. So this is the only place you have the possibility of doing it. And I don't see that the old homes, I live in one, built in 1899. And if we want to make it into a bed and breakfast, or we want to make it into a business, we can. So anybody else that has an older home can, it's commercial. The house is there. They can use it commercially, or they can use it as residential. If you want to change and protect them in case they burn down, change something else in the code. This is focusing on what single family dwellings saying they are standard by right. Anybody wants to bring a modular home or anything else in here and set it on 5,000 square feet and maybe do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 clustered together, that they can do it. That to me is not what I intended when I advocated for these things to get addressed and changed in a quick manner. If I'm the only one that thinks like that, then fine, the majority rules. But we're spending too much time, I think, in talking about the grand scheme of things and overall zoning. I'm pointing out one thing. I think that's not what was intended. And I did a lot of writing on the stuff that got changed and all. That, I don't know how that got in there, and I'm not pointing any fingers how it got in there, but maybe council did it. I don't know. All right, Ron said you did.
So if I may, Chairman, I'm the reason that, well, I and the vote of council are the reason that got changed once it moved from the planning commission to council. And I remember having the conversation that if I want to add a foot of my back deck, I have to go through the process of conditional use. If we left it the way it was worded, the night it was presented to council. So council just kind of said, well, then we make single family dwellings part of, it's always been that way, we'll just put it back in there. I would value correcting the verbiage if that's what the commission wants to do. Send something up to the council that protects the 132-year-old home, because God knows those homes will go up like that. If they burn, they're gone. So I've put a huge time and investment in my house, as have everybody down that side of Mineral Avenue, everybody down this side of Mineral Avenue. So we don't want to set a law in motion, because that's what it is, that steals a home from somebody. So tell me what words to use. It's my suggestion. Tell me what words to use that protect the people that are here, but protects the future economic growth for that district. I don't know what those words are. That's why we have a planning commission.
Hearing that, I think that's, go ahead.
But in the historic district along Mineral and Louisa, you don't get a regular building permit. You have to have a historic district building permit.
Not yet, not until we get the overlay.
If I may suggest some language, Brian made a good point. If this house burns down,
Right.
he can't build it back. What if the verbiage were changed so that you have to put photographs of at least the exterior on file with the town, so that if it burns down and you want to build it back, you have to do what was there originally. I would think that would be restrictive, but that would keep what we have here. No?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate what you and Ron both said. Did we have a motion on the floor and we were discussing it?
Yeah, to
Okay.
change that.
All right. And you made the motion and I
I made a
seconded it?
motion to change it.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you,
The
would you consider withdrawing your motion
Yes, I will.
and let me make a motion and try to pick up with what they said.
Okay,
And the chairman can't make a motion while sitting as chairman, so I'll pass the gavel figuratively to you, Jim, and I would like to make a motion. You would take over while I do that.
I'll do that.
Right, I'd like to make a motion that, hearing the discussion tonight, which was very valuable, I would like to make a motion that this planning commission recommend to the town council that in the light commercial district ordinance that has been adopted on September the 27th, when it was signed by Ed Jarvis, there is a statement of single family dwellings being by right. And that the planning commission would like to recommend that that wording of that number 2 be deleted, because the part about conditional use permit is already covered in a section 2 or 3 paragraphs later under conditional use permit for modulars. Delete this, but only after wording has been developed by the town attorney and the the town manager and or zoning enforcement officer. They are the ones that should be able to come up with that, the attorney in particular, where the non-conforming sections of the code that were outside of what was reviewed here are addressed, and a way of changing those to where if a person's house burns down, that was pre-existing this ordinance of last year. If that house existed prior to that they would be able to build back. come back to us, to the planning commission, with it, and we will then hold a public hearing on it. I don't think that the planning commission has the ability to come up with the wording and saying what it ought to be, but the task would be, that's my motion, that we recommend single family dwelling be deleted, that whole item number 2 from the ordinance, if and when the town attorney and the town manager together come up with a way to handle the existing homes that are out there, if in fact they were destroyed, burned down, whatever.
And then brought back to the planning commission for review.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure.
Asking us to come up with the wording and make it. I would like if they could do that within the next 30 days. That's my motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Brian seconds of that. Any further discussion on it?
That was my line.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Forgot about that.
Couple of that.
Thank
So, motion having been made, seconded, can we now have a vote? Ms. Teresa?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's unanimous.
Jim, you did that so well.
See, you need these.
Good job there, Jim.
I'm good. Or maybe I just won't need that.
Okay, folks, let's move on. And, next is discussion regarding minutes formatting.
No, you had one other item. Yes,
What?
it was
Lot size.
lot size.
That's
Oh,
not.
that's later. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is about page 1, new business is what we've got to now, discussion regarding minute formatting. I didn't ask to put that on there, but it's on there, so it's a good opportunity to say what you feel about it. Let's try to keep it to 5 minutes, just so that we can get out of here. 10 o'clock is okay.
I'll start. No one needs 120 pages of transcript and argument over transcript. We need to know what we did, who voted, and move on. And if it's taking someone that long to create, because you can watch YouTube, then see who said it. So he's having to sit and go, well, he said that, and then he said that. I think that's a bit more than is necessary. We can all go back and watch the video and be embarrassed by what we did.
What I'm gonna do is, take a little opportunity to improvise here. Each person I'm gonna ask and give a bullet or two, and we can accumulate those bullets into what comes out of the recommendation for us. Going around the table?
I really don't have any, I mean, I'm good with either way. I do understand the point of just overdoing it, you know what I mean? You can always refer back to the video for details, but
Yeah.
whatever the commission wants, whatever you guys are going to do.
Right?
I agree with what's been said so far. I think it should be short, succinct, as is stated also in the bylaws you said earlier. Simple as that. I agree.
And I agree with that too. I think it says in there that we don't want transcripts. And we want it to be succinct and state the facts. And, you know, let's follow our either bylaw or rules of order. That document.
So it's in the
Point out what
bylaws.
he mentioned. We don't need longer. We need thorough but short.
So that's in our bylaws.
You
Okay.
want me to find it for you?
Yeah, since I brought it up.
Mr. Chairman, while you're looking for that, if I may.
Sure.
So I'm glad you guys kind of made that decision by consensus because the state requires only minimal information to be in minutes. Now, something that was not included in your minutes tonight, and I only just noticed it as I was looking back over them. At the bottom of the last page, moving forward, it'll say transcripts available by request, video available, and the town's website. So anyone that is reading the minutes, go out into the public, they'll see that there are two other ways. If they want exact conversation, they can order the transcripts. So it's not, but because we have them, we have to make the public aware that they're available. The requirement is bare minimum. I mean, literally, it says action and vote is all that's required. So we're trying to do a little bit more, but because they're available, we have to let the public know that they're available.
This is what our bylaws said, not cutting you off.
No, I was finished. Thank you.
Minutes, this is on page 6 of what I'm reading. It has a number of things. Minutes of the preceding NPC meeting or other previous meeting will be distributed to the members with the agenda and package material for review prior to the meeting where the minutes approval is requested. Chair shall request a motion for approval, et cetera, et cetera. It is a policy of NBC that minutes shall enumerate the following items. The time, date, and place of the meeting, members of the NPC, staff members present in attendance, record the minutes, the absence of any member, and the lateness or time of leaving of any member. 2, a clear and concise statement of the matters that came before the NPC, the names of people speaking on each matter, and a synopsis of the statement. 3, a notation of specified issues or clarifications that have salient bearing on being decided. 4, notation of the memorandum exhibits, which are going to accompany the clerk's records of the meeting. And a statement of specific requests, recommendations being presented, specific full text of each motion, substitute motion, amendments. Anyway, you can read it. Those are there. But I think that you summed it up. We don't need, we don't need length and don't want transcripts. So. All right, if that covers that adequately.
Actually, Mr. Kuby, there is something I wanted to bring up in support of what you said too.
Sure.
There was the number 8 on the copy that I have, is that such other matters as the clerk shall be necessary.
Yeah.
Is that an appropriate or is that a necessary one with our shortened notes since we are trying to?
I think that might be going a little bit far. So let's see, number 8, such other matters as the clerk shall deem necessary to provide a complete, accurate, understandable record of deliberations of the NPC. I don't know how or where that came from. Most stuff like this is pulled from some document, repeated. I would say that's certainly not necessary.
I have a suggestion for an edit, especially since we decided that the clerk was acting as the secretary for the planning commission versus having a specific clerk.
Yeah.
I would say that in the future, when we're reviewing the bylaws, potentially the next month, edit that to state the secretary as appointed by planning commission, or maybe something like secretary shall, or the appointed secretary.
Well, that's what this is referring to, but it's not crystal clear.
Right, and that's why I think that it's important to take out the clerk, which is a specific town
Right.
role and responsibility, and designate that responsibility as it falls under the planning commission.
Yeah, we are supposed to review this every January at an organization meeting and, and approve it as such. I don't suppose there's any reason why we can't make amendments along the way, during the year if something, comes up like this one that we want to make a change to. Can we put that on hold and ask the attorney to advise us on that about what we have to do to revise during the year?
It's
We
right here.
shouldn't have to hold any public hearing on it.
No, it's right here,
What's it
page
say?
9,
Thank you, Helen.
amending the bylaw.
What did it say? There it is. I forgot. What did it say?
After due consideration, these bylaws or rules of procedure may be amended with the concurrence of the majority of the MPC members present. Proposed changes to the approved bylaws will be listed on a published MPC agenda and provided in advance for all MPC members for the review. So we should then put that on the agenda with the change that we're going to make and vote on it next meeting.
I would recommend that Brian, who brought this up, put it in wording and provide it to me and or the staff that we would like it on the agenda for our review and adoption next year. Sure. That doesn't need, we don't need action to do that, but we do want the minutes to reflect that. All right, discussion regarding zoning signage. I think Ms. Newton, you brought up at a previous meeting about signs.
Yes.
You like that, correct?
I believe it's necessary for the residents to know what is going on with zoning by actually having a signage on said property to let all the neighbors know. It can be printed up and a date, and anybody opposes, or we can have a date at a further date. However, we decide to put it together as far as what the signage needs to have. There's a lot of people that don't know what's going on, and there's been complaints because of that they are doing things that they should have been aware of. And this problem has already been in my past, and it's not being transparent. We have to notify the residents of what we're doing with the zoning on any property. That's not my opinion. It's a legal thing, because the town could be sued if we didn't give the notification. I don't know what the law reads state as far as the state's concerned. But I know that each jurisdiction can have zoning requirements and post it as such, not on the bulletin board. I don't go to Facebook to see what meetings or whatever. I don't drive by here ever to see what's going on, and posting it on the door. There's people that can't get out to see what's on the door. I think that we need to go a step further and let the public know by putting it on the property.
In the desire just to expedite, save time, versus having discussion around the table, then getting a motion, and then having discussion of the motion, I would encourage you ask for it to be on here. Would you like to make a motion on it, see if we get a second, and we can discuss it all, amended if necessary, to save time?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, point of order before a motion is made, because it may change your verbiage. Are we talking about zoning, which is an entire district? Or are we talking about construction that's happening on an individual parcel?
Well, it'll be on the property itself and not the whole, you can still make the bulletins if you want to. A lot of people still do that, but it needs to be posted like, with the property that we had. It was a zoning notice because we had to change it from, commercial to residential again.
I think what
So-
you're speaking of is zoning request. You're not talking about like you're changing the zoning ordinance, put up signs. We're talking about, I think, if somebody's gonna ask to rezone something or get a conditional use permit,
Yes,
then you put a notice on that property, and the person who's asking for it ends up paying some fee for it. So, you buy some signs and they have to go out there and be up there 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the meeting, which is gonna be held on it. And I'm only guessing, it's gotta be 90% of counties and towns and municipalities do that, if not greater. I'm surprised that Mineral hasn't done it. It's transparency, but.
So I don't know that my question was answered with clarification. So, for example, Jim and I are neighbors. We're in a residential district. Jim wants to build a house. He has to post on his property that he's building a house. Is that,
well, I don't know whether the county does that here or not.
Well, so your permits have to be posted, but I think I understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure if you all make a vote to recommend it to council, that it's recommended correctly. Because I think you're actually hitting two nails with the same hammer. I think that the town is responsible for notifying neighbors if we're rezoning an individual piece of property,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
which the town has never done. The town has never, well, I don't want to say never, has never, the town is not in the practice of rezoning an individual property. But because of the zoning changes that we've made, the rules have changed, the square footage has changed, so more is able to be built on that same piece of property. So are you asking that that be a public notice as well?
Well, I think that could be up for discussion. I would want to make sure that residents know what's going on in zoning. If they have to have the permit. If you don't have permits, that's another subject there, but, there's just been a lot of talk about individuals not knowing what's going on on their own street.
Go ahead.
For example, my property, I've heard rumor that the property behind me is being sold and they want to build townhouses there. Now, that is totally different from the entire neighborhood. And so if that were going to happen or was a proposal by someone who wanted to purchase a property for this specific purpose, I think the neighbors, at least need to know so they can speak on how they feel about it, because there may be reasonable objections to it being zoned in a particular way. And that is what I find very frustrating as a resident of the town of Mineral, that you're never aware of anything that's going on zoning wise or building wise until it's done.
That's true.
So that's exactly what you're talking about.
That's
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, and it is when, I think, the way that it works is that when you come in, you have to apply for a rezoning or a conditional use permit or whatever, and the town has the signs made and the town tells you, you gotta pay us $150 or whatever it is, you'll get back that money or some part of it after it's been out there. You have to put it out there, but you don't make up your own sign. The town decides what's on that and fills in the information that's applicable to this request. But then you have to put it out there and get it out there and keep it there until the decision has been made on it. That's common thing.
We purchased a piece of property where we have a home. We found out that we couldn't, I don't know how real estate is here, but we couldn't even purchase the house until it was presented to the people around in the area. Because if they didn't rezone it, we couldn't have applied for a loan. So, it's to protect everybody. And like she said, I don't know what's going on.
So,
And I'm commissioned.
go ahead.
I think that could, that knowledge and being open and upfront could have prevented a very, very disconcerting to almost every resident that I know in the town of Mineral, something that has happened and is an eyesore right on Mineral Avenue. If the citizens of Mineral Avenue or the town of Mineral had known what had been proposed, I don't think it would have ever passed, because whoever approved it would not have been able to approve it because of the backlash that they would have gotten from the citizens.
Mr.
Very
Chairman,
good point.
I would like to, if it's possible, to address that comment as well, based on public information that has been put out
Go
there.
ahead.
Previous administrations, the previous mayor had approved the zoning permit incorrectly. He went through a censure process and was punished about that. Nobody in this town was informed about that, myself included, who I lived 2 blocks down from it. I was not happy myself either. Unfortunately, that was an event where we did have a really crappy situation, to put it bluntly, and we're fixing that problem. And I think that you bringing that zoning ordinance, or the zoning signage to us, along with Commissioner Newton, I think is exactly what we need in this town. We need somebody to show up to these meetings and say, hey, we want these signs, we want to know what's going on in our town. Not necessarily from and I'll put this out there too, if your neighbor is building, an extra deck on the back of their house and they're all within reason, nobody can really say anything as long as they're following the law. But yeah, if you're gonna try and rezone your house and tear it down and put up a Chuck E. Cheese instead of residential area, everyone should be aware of that, so everyone can protect their own properties and their own investments.
My turn?
I have built, your next example, sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
have built in virtually every county east of 95 all the way to the Atlantic. And on that side of 95, you have to post a sign, even if you're gonna maintain the zoning that is in the property that you want to build on. You have to make a notice. Usually it's a 90-day hot pink notice of what's coming soon on that property. And it says in big bold letters, if any local residents have any objections, they need to go to, and it'll say that on the sign.
Excellent. Very good. Jim?
I'm not against that because, when somebody clears a piece of property, you wonder what's happening. What is happening is people get surprised by what is a by right decision. So if someone is allowed to build a duplex in your neighborhood, it won't go to the planning commission if it's allowed by the zoning code. And you can't really fight that because that's what our code allows. You
No, but
can't
the residents, local residents would at least feel like they'd been heard if they knew about it and could come in and say and speak their mind.
So I'm not against informational that goes beyond a zoning change is being asked. That's one thing. The other one is, gee, what are they doing? Instead of going over and asking what they're doing. But maybe we need to inform citizens somehow that in your neighborhood, these are the things that are allowed. But that's a whole different thing from what you're talking about.
This is, I think, trying to address being transparent and letting the public know when a rezoning has been asked for. And it's typical standard operating procedure in most places. The only thing that I might add as a question is, how does the council feel about not only doing for rezonings that, take a position, they have to pay for a sign, they have to put it out there. And again, I don't think that we need to come up with all of the bells and whistles related to how to do it. Other places do it, staff can do that, or the attorney can do that. But we've now got lots going on about opening and closing streets or easements. Should not a sign be created to notify the public so that they know about that? Because lots of people are affected if a street's gonna be closed, if a street's gonna be open, or if an easement is requested. I think signs ought to be required for that, again, so there's no question that the adjoining property owners are aware of it, and they can either be in favor or opposed to it, but they can have some say, like what you have been pointing out about some development that's going on behind your house.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I heard this through kind of a reliable source.
Yeah.
But I've seen nothing, heard nothing. I looked, the land is pending offer, and I would assume that would be pending if they get what they,
Right.
the developer gets what they want. As the land.
Are you boundary with the county? Or is this something specific in the town?
As far as I know, it is in the town of Minden. This particular piece of property that backs up to mine. Now, there's another part of the property where I'm at the border with the county. But
That's interesting.
Ed, this is something that if you'd like after the meeting, if you
yeah,
wanna-
I'm
if you
not
wanna sit
asking,
out there in the parking lot, I will get my book out and my map and I'll show you what's allowed. If that would help.
Pointed out right here.
my
Well,
point is not for me personally.
Right.
I mean, but it's the fact that I feel that the residents of the town of Mineral were told this is residential, this is this. And if there is a request to rezone it as something else for multifamily dwellings or whatever, or commercial, that we should be informed. Now, there's nothing that I can do if it's already on the books that's allowed. I'm fine with that.
Right.
But I'm not asking a question for me specifically.
Gotcha.
I'm just saying that as a resident,
Yes, ma'am.
and I just happened to mention that as an example,
I agree.
so not as a special request.
So again, does anyone have a point to make or a comment to make?
Ready to
as
vote, ready to vote. I mean, I think we've set enough. I think you got it. You hit it on the head, everybody.
How do you feel about whether?
I agree with that.
I agree.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman,
We've got a lot of head nodding.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
If I may, one more piece of advice, I would recommend that this commission put together a proposed policy. Don't leave it to council and staff. You're giving away the power of the planning commission by saying, oh, we'll have staff do it. Because staff's gonna generate something based on staff's opinion.
But I don't agree with that because staff can propose it. That doesn't mean that we have to accept it as such. We can revise, change it, add to it. They're supposed to have some expertise beyond what we in our backgrounds have. So I don't see us having to go out to Louisa County and email and other places to ask them to give us the knowledge and the words to use versus staff doing that.
You're misunderstanding.
Attorney needs to.
Or the attorneys, right?
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. So if I go back to the staff tomorrow, which I will do, if the commission asks me to, if I go back to the staff tomorrow and I say, create a policy for signage for development in the town.
All they'd have to do is call Louisa County.
No, I get that. I get that.
And do.
But the staff has the authority to put together whatever they want and present it to council. So they can say, okay, the
zoning map is supposed to come before the planning commission first.
doesn't have to. Because all you're asking is that a plan be developed. So there are no specifics, no particulars. You've heard the commission has all made great points. We've had two residents in the audience, one council member, I don't want to, have made great points. Don't give away your power. Take those points and say, this is what we want and present it to council, is all I'm saying.
To me, that sounds exactly what you had encountered in the past, when you got very little support from staff. You, as planning commissioners, more than a year and a half ago, dwindled down to 3 people, and y'all were having to put out your own notices. You didn't have minutes taken by anybody from the staff. You had to do it all yourself. Everybody quit. and the planning commission went pretty much defunct. And that's why I say staff needs to be involved, and I know the town has very little staff. But these people, me included, aren't the people that need to be writing these things. We need to come up with the ideas and we need assistance. I don't think that we should have to contact all the people and ask them what they have for us to come back with it. I think that somebody needs to do it, and better that our staff contact TJPDC versus us, and then they want to give a price and we gotta send it to you all to see if you're willing to pay for it. It's a round and round circle.
Bullet points, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
We specifying specific things about zoning signage, saying zoning signage, zoning changes from commercial to residential, et cetera. Postings
Right.
for changes, things like that, actually.
Zoning
giving
is-
time.
Definitely, I'm seeing everybody's heads nod, and I don't mean to carry it on, but again, did we have a motion?
It's been a long time.
I have a hard time.
No.
I don't think the motion's been made yet.
A motion, I would say whoever's making it to certainly talk about the zoning matters that they're making applications to the town for. Then if you want to, include streets opening, closing and easements, please add that to it as well.
Do you want me to try it?
Open to whoever wants. to.
Okay, the planning commission would recommend that zoning changes be indicated on the property by a sign, that changes in informational signage should be used to inform residents of changes within their community with regard to construction, road building, non-zoning things. Yeah, that was non-zoning things, my brain just petered out.
It has to be about the zoning change request.
Well, the
Yes.
zoning,
So it'll state the property, the town, if it's residential, state what it is now, the zoning, wants to be changed to whatever zoning. And you have 30 days, before, to make any comments, or if you want a meeting for it at the next council meeting, then you put it down to voice your opinion.
those are, yeah,
That's about what a sign
a
says.
zoning action is taking place on this property. A meeting will be taking place, contact the town council. There, I bet I looked up, I would find the wording.
Yeah, they usually say that they give the public 30 days. And
Those are the
that's
details,
usually,
those are the details we don't need to have in the motion.
Right.
that's what.
You're right, that's how it works.
Can I second the motion?
I don't know that I've
Make it,
got it
No, no, no,
completely.
but-
I'll be glad.
I thought that was.
I'll be glad to get our second.
You're ready for me? Okay, so I make a motion that we present to council a proposal that we add zoning signage change policy to the town, requiring changes to zoning from districts to one district to another, one developmental property of undeveloped property that is getting developed, and general
About open closing or.
open exposing easements, streets,
Of undeveloped streets.
the items that were discussed previously. So before you went to non.
no,
I think that's clear. Do I hear a second there?
Second the motion.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. And Jim, you want to ask a question about it?
just the word you probably should use is signs indicating any change in zoning. Because that also includes conditional use permits. So so the more general you are in that,
Zoning and.
zoning actions signage indicating zoning actions to take place.
All right, I make a motion that zoning actions requiring changes, have a policy created, before the town of Mineral, and this should be presented as a suggestion to the town council.
You should road say.
And the rest.
All right, and you seconded it.
That's-
We all understand it?
Yes.
And you got it on tape.
I don't understand. So I just want to clarify because I'll present this to staff tomorrow. The planning commission is requesting that staff generate a policy in regards to any zoning action within the town of Mineral, any development or closing of roads
Or opening,
or easement, the development, yeah, I'll write that as opening.
or clearing.
And any change in zoning overall be done with signage. So we're looking for a policy.
Yeah,
That they.
and
I guess I did get it.
Requester, you know, I put in the motion, but this requester
Because
would obtain from
if you
the
get
town.
on and have a blank lot beside you, you wanna know what's gonna happen on that lot. If some, it doesn't have to be a zoning change, it's just,
Oh, I agree with it.
it's just.
I'll make sure I know how to explain it.
it. You'd like to know what it is.
Let's get these major things tackled, and that'll be.
I agree with it.
I can't imagine.
How to explain it.
You know, if they've ever run into the question of not knowing and gee, had that happen. So, roll call, please.
Mrs. Newton,
sorry.
He's asking how you vote.
Ms. Newton,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, Mr. Cubey,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Snyder.
Yes,
Awesome.
Okay, great, thank you, folks. We only have one item left.
Revenue.
two items left.
Discussion regarding amount of NPC members. So, we have 2 vacancies right now that we've been operating with 7. And 2 people had resigned, so we got 5 now. And it's come to the attention that maybe at one time it was 5 and then it was talked about being 3 and then it went to 7. Our bylaws and all say 7 because that's what we have been using for the last year and a half. But maybe that wasn't, you want to explain, Ron?
So the simple way to put it, the planning commission had never been chartered until 2022. The attorney and Jim created the charter designating the planning commission. At that time, it was designated to 5 commission members. The one meeting I missed in 2.5 years in August, the council was asked to increase that number to 7. No action past that was taken. It was approved. So in order to change it, because it's an ordinance, the council has to hold a public hearing. We can't just change ordinances because we want to. Has to be a public hearing and has to be changed from 5 to 7. It is whatever you all decide, but the council never, since August, held the public hearing to make that change. So I asked the chairman to put it on your agenda tonight. This commission, now that it's, I mean, there's only, I think, 2 of you still from when it was written in 2022. So this commission decides and then council can take action based on that.
Gotcha.
I think leave it as it is and not have to go through all that, changing. 5 is, we're good. Sometime having more than that, it can really stop progress because you're needing more people, for form and stuff like that. So I think 5 is good.
Finding members is hard. And we got to the point where we were down to 3 members with the stated number of people being 7. We went for 3 months without being able to have a quorum because we simply could not get anybody. Or somebody would get appointed and would never show up. And so we're calling people that don't seem to exist. And we couldn't do anything. So the only answer was to go and say, can we please move this to 5? We'd have better, we could have been. And so that was, and And that's also when we discovered there was no ordinance setting up a planning commission.
Yeah, in essence, it wasn't in the code.
Yeah, nothing was in the
Anything
code.
about the planning commission,
It was an interesting time.
a 100-year lapse.
So I'd say 5 is a good number. We all talk a lot. That would make it harder, is what I'm afraid.
Okay, somebody make a motion. Please.
I move that we remain at 5 members.
We recommend the plan to the council. Motion made to recommend that the number on the planning commission be 5 be sent on to the town council. Seconded by Mrs. Newton. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion passes 5-0. It's not done, they have to do it. Not done, we're passing along the recommendation of council.
Actually, they don't have to do anything.
We just have to rescind the action taken in
They
August.
took an
Oh,
action.
they took an action. They do that.
It's
All right, finally, discussion of minimum lot sizes. I've already told you, my issue, and that is there's 5,000 square foot, and nobody, when it was changed, realized what an impact that could be, reducing the size lot in town from 15,000 down to 5,000. But you can look around and see what a difference it's making. So I feel that ought to be looked at by the town council as far as returning it to something greater than 5. If it's 15,000, great. If it's 10,000, their choice. And the reason is that, I just believe that it has opened the Pandora's box to using up our land that we have, and particularly that we have in the commercial area that's down through here, but it applies anywhere.
Can I speak to the
Sure.
history of that change?
You spoke up first, so I'll let you go, and then it'll come back.
So we were asked to provide relief for people who had 3 lots or 2 lots away from up here, who could not build on their property because it wasn't big enough. So we then went and we did a lot of research and we set rules and regulations for how big a house you could build on this big a lot. If you had sewer, if you didn't, you had to do this. We did the whole thing. The lots up here are tiny. And that was an unintended consequence of trying to make it easier for people to build on their property. Ms. Washington has mentioned about the need to, I own 8 lots. I could sell 1 lot at a time, and maybe what I should do when I buy that lot, and she talked about maybe working on code, that I get those 8 lots changed to 1 lot that is that long. So to consolidate lots within, and so that was a discussion that we had about a need. I think that's something we need to do. We also need to not lock out the people that have got 2 lots, if that's what they have. Unintended consequences, we need to do something.
Are we talking about Mineral and Louisa? Or are we talking about the whole town?
Mineral.
Hold that.
So you could throw something at me now and make sure, so I wrote the code that allowed that to happen.
To expand to
To-
1 lot, if you had more than
Yes.
1 lot.
You could build on 1 lot if you met the regulations for that square footage usage. That's my fault.
Well, I mean, we, especially on Louisa and Mineral, it needs to be larger than that, although the rest of the town, I don't see a problem if somebody had 3 lots and they wanted to build a home in the middle of it and change it to 1 lot instead of 3 lots. But there again, that's something that we have to notify the residents too with this. So that's what I'm thinking.
I would support something that gave them a path through a conditional use permit to build on the smaller lots. Because then it comes up to recommendations of this group. So rather than by right, make it available through a conditional use permit.
I like that idea. So
Well, no, that's okay. Well, I'm thinking out loud. So you're talking about existing residents now. What about somebody that's gonna sell 3 lots? And they want to combine it as to 1? Because they want to build 1 house on that lot.
So
Not Mineral and Louisa. We're not, that excludes that.
so number of lots, be that 1 big one or 3 small ones joined together, doesn't evade the need for square footage that we put into the code. So if it was 2 lots and it was this percentage of the square footage, you could get away with it. If it was 3 lots, you can build a bigger house. What we were trying to do is say that you didn't have to build a family home if you didn't need it. And I need it because I've got to have a drain field. But we wrote the code so that part was, so I like the code I wrote. I didn't expect that to happen. I think a conditional use permit.
Well, I think that the main discussion is the lot size right now. And it's getting late and I know.
Yeah.
So can we stay with minimum lot size right now? And table the rest of it and make sure that it's all right?
Yeah, in fact, it varies per district, whether you're residential, limited, residential, general, commercial, light commercial or commercial. But anyway, it became very minimalized several years ago. So maybe we want to just table it, think about it a little bit longer. But do realize that the small size is what has allowed some of the things that have recently happened that aren't necessarily
ideal for.
ideal for it to have. Some people feel that way anyway.
That's what I was saying, that we just talked about lot sizes right now.
Yeah.
And it covers just Mineral and Louisa. I mean, I don't know which, are we talking about whole town or just those?
I just want to get it on the table for realization and get it out for discussion and thought. I don't think we're gonna solve it tonight
Okay.
because I'm not prepared to, to spell it out. I'm not, and it does differ, but the consensus, is there any consensus over the fact that that ought to be looked at and evaluated?
absolutely.
Yes.
So the best thing to do, I guess, go back to what I say, Mr. Mayor, that we can look at it and we'll look at it if we just table it till the next meeting, but time is of the essence for it, so.
Mr. Chairman, I have a suggestion for the next meeting, and I have no problem bringing this up.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at a couple of different districts in different counties and see what their minimum lot sizes are and the rules and requirements. I'd like to bring that back to the
Please
next
do.
commissions next month, and we can discuss the other surrounding areas.
I'll go for that. Anybody agree with that?
I agree. That's how
Way to go. Is there anything else that needs to come before us? I'm gonna skip over council comment. Thank you. Commission comments.
Well, I wanted to ask a question, since the reports are listed here. If they are not going to be in attendance and we just require them, when we need them, can we at least have reports from them before the meetings or for the meetings?
I'm hoping that the consensus
They'll come
that our
back.
talk tonight is that they will be invited, encouraged to come back. And if there's some reason why they can't be here on a particular case, then just let us know in advance and we can deal with that. But the door is open. We'd love to have them supporting and assisting.
Well, we have three things at least that they're supposed to, that there's county administrator is supposed to bring us next month.
Probably so.
At some point, it's not.
Look at the tape. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So I have a motion.
I got a motion from Peter, second here. All those in favor say aye. It's 9:30.